Hi guys, and welcome. I am Enigmaus, and this is episode 20 of the Builder's Guide to Feed the Beast. Continuing on our Red Power 2 mini-series. Today we're getting ready to start in on some pretty heavy-duty automatic assembly work, auto-crafting on a very large scale. But before we do that, we need to talk about a couple of details that sort of factor heavily into that, which really don't need to be covered at the exact same time as all the crafting stuff. So we're going to take care of those separately today. And then the next episode, we're going to dive in with the auto crafting. We're going to be making ultimate hybrid solar panels from scratch. So what we need first is we need a way to get blue electric power wherever we want it. Now, one of the downsides with blue electricity, as you've seen, is it's not particularly mobile. Yes, you can pick up battery boxes and they'll retain most of their charge, and then you can take them somewhere else and put them down. But speaking in terms of being able to generate power in a particular location, it takes a little while to set up thermopiles. You need certain conditions to set up solar panels and kinetic generators. Obviously, you've seen our wind turbine upstairs. You can't just plunk that down wherever you happen to be and generate some blue electricity. So it's nice if we can ship the blue electric power that we do generate wherever we need it, and that's what we're setting up to do here. We're down in my basement, where it's always raining indoors, courtesy of the river above. These are my thermopiles. You probably remember these from the episode where we talked about how to generate blue electricity. And the only thing that I've really done down here is I've added some extra glass just to kind of mark out the area where I will be filling in with thermopiles eventually. And I've added some pneumatic tubes. And you can see here, it's basically just running across the tops of the blue electric battery boxes. And that's key in terms of the location, because this is where we're going to charge the BT batteries that we're going to use to send elsewhere so that we can have mobile blue electric power. Now, BT batteries are these guys here. They're easy to move around. They're basically rechargeable batteries that you can send wherever, wherever you can manage to fit an ender chest, really. And once you get a system set up, basically you can have, BT batteries charging here, and you can be using them to charge battery boxes in multiple locations elsewhere. It's just a limit. The only limitation is how many BT batteries you've got in your network to charge and how many ender chests you're willing to make. So just wanted to show you briefly how this works. Like I say, very important, the pneumatic tubes connect to the top when you want to charge the batteries, because that puts them in this slot here, which will cause them to draw power out of the battery box into the BT battery. And then down here, we've got our ender chest. You can see it's coated white, white, black. And then there's a filter. And in that filter, we have an empty BT battery. Now, the important thing is that the system will recognize the difference between an empty and a full BT battery. And if you want to get super technical and crazy about it, it'll even recognize different levels of charge. For the sake of simplicity, I always just use full and empty. I can't even think of a reason why you would want to move around partially charged batteries. So that's what this is a filter pulling empty batteries out of this chest, if there are any there, and sending them through the tube network into the tops of the battery boxes to charge. And we've got a retriever here set to grab blue electric batteries when they're full from the battery boxes. It's very, very simple, this is very compact. The way I've set it up is ugly as hell, but that's a reflection on me doing kind of a rushed setup. Realistically, that's the core of it, is the ender chest, the filter, and the retriever, and then connecting the tubes over top of the battery boxes. And it's very, very elegant in the simplicity. And you can see here also I've got the gray stone-jacketed blue wire drawing power from this battery box to the retriever. Again, I could make it a little bit more compact and elegant, but who cares? I mean, that's something that each person can fiddle around to their heart's content once they know the mechanics that they have to preserve, which is what's being pulled out of where and what's being pulled out of what and why. So this is my charging station. Now, obviously, the more thermopiles and the more blue electric batteries that I add, the more BT batteries I will be able to charge concurrently so that I can keep a larger and larger network of blue electric appliances running. So, we're on our way here. But I just wanted to show this to you because I'm going to take a run up here and I'll show you the opposite side of that setup, which is taking those charged BT batteries and using them to charge bluelectric battery boxes. You can see there's 2 battery boxes here. They're both full. You can see this one's got a BT battery, and it's in the bottom slot. This is where BT batteries discharge into the battery box. So here you can see, obviously, the tubes connect to the bottom of the battery box, and that's how they get in the bottom slot. And this battery will basically sit here until it's fully discharged. So this will have to lose some of its charge before this can be fully discharged. And then it will be pulled out of the battery box by this retriever, which is set to pull empty batteries. So here we've got another ender chest. It's also white, white, black. So it's on the same network, or, you know, the same frequency, so to speak, as the ender chest downstairs. And then a filter here set to pull full BT batteries into the tubes if there's space to put them in the battery boxes. It's just that simple, but it's one of those things that once you realize that you're able to do it and you get the basics set up at your source, all of a sudden how you generate blue electricity becomes less and less of a concern. It's more, you could put it wherever you want, you could put it wherever it makes sense. So obviously your turbines you could put way the hell up in the air and then just set up a blue electric ender chest sort of system to ship the power wherever you need it. You don't have to worry about, you know, 60 pieces of cable to run it to where you're actually going to use it. So that's kind of cool and important, because a lot of the red power machines that we'll be using in our assembly, our automatic crafting assembly system, are going to need blue electricity. So we have it on demand. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you, and this was asked also after our sorting video, was people inquiring as to how they might go about distributing a particular resource to 2 or more different destinations. So let's say, as an example, you had a quarry running and it was pulling out, amongst other things, all this cobblestone. So quarries are notorious for giving you more cobblestone than you can ever hope to use. So let's say you wanted to send 80% of that cobblestone off to recyclers, basically to be destroyed, even if you didn't care about the scrap, just get it out of my face sort of thing, and then keep 20% of it in case you need it for a crafting recipe or smelt it to smooth stone for building blocks or whatever. How would you set up a system like that so that it was part of your automatic sorting system? You didn't have to worry about it. It just handled itself without your input. Now, that's what we're going to show you how to do today. Now, I just want to point out, this is like many other things in the game. There's multiple ways to approach this, depending on what system you like to use, your personal preferences. I'm not going to go so far as to say that my way is the best way, because I don't think that's fair or appropriate, but it works, and that's the bottom line. And again, what I'm showing you now will also tie into the assembly, the automatic crafting stuff later on. So this is as much to illustrate one opportunity or one option to distribute your resources as it is to illustrate a basic mechanic that we'll be carrying on into the automatic crafting sort of situation. So what I've got set up here, again, we're going to use the cobblestone example. So I've got a filter with cobblestone in it that will pull any cobblestone, obviously, through this, that comes through this pneumatic tube. We covered that in gross detail in the last episode. And it just dumps it into a chest. Now, the reason why I set it up this way is I like to set things up so that they're more or less foolproof, so that you don't have to worry about what happens if a machine overflows, what happens if there's a hiccup here, a lag spike there. So this may be a little bit of overkill, but it's not expensive overkill. It's a filter in a chest. You don't even have to use a gold chest. You can use a regular wooden one, because most of the time, especially with this example, anything that goes in there isn't going to stay there for a super long time. So we've got that buffer sort of set up with the filter dumping all the cobblestone into this chest, and now we can decide what we want to do with it. So what we're going to be using today is a sorting machine. This is prior to this most recent major update. The sorting machine was sort of the key item that would be used for doing what we're talking about, distributing items to multiple destinations. A lot of people, including myself, used it for part of our sorting system until I found that I like this method much, much better. But what we're also seeing is, with this most recent Red Power update, the manager was added, which is a really neat thing that we'll be using also in the automatic crafting system. It's a little bit of overkill for this particular application. It's not expensive in terms of the materials, that you're going to use, but it is one of those things that it's a little bit involved in the production, and I don't necessarily know that I would want to be making these on a regular basis. It's the kind of thing where I would probably make up like 5 at a time and then just have them around until I need more and then make 5, because I wouldn't want to make them one at a time on a regular basis. It starts with a sorting machine, which, right, not particularly expensive. Filter, 5 iron, 2 red doped wafers, and a blue alloy ingot, which is exactly what we're about to be using. But in addition to that, we need a regulator plus this stuff here that you already see. But the regulator is 2 buffers and an item detector plus the wafers and the brass and the wood. And the item detector is more brass and more wafers and more wood and tubes and pressure plates. And I can understand, based on the power of the manager, how it's justifiable that it would be so much involved in making one. Like I say, just for this sort of setup, I just really firmly believe that it's overkill. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this sorting machine down like this, and I'll just show you. If you've never used a sorting machine, see how it looks like it kind of has a face? That's the top, and that's the bottom, right? Down here is the bottom. The input is at the top. The output is at the bottom. Now, even if you're using vanilla textures, that should look basically the same. It'll look like it has eyes and a mouth sticking its tongue out. So just keep that in mind, top and bottom. So the input there from the chest and output there. So then we'll need some tubes like that. This is, again, it's going to be one of these ugly setups that's more for demonstrative purposes than anything that I would normally set up. Just because, I mean, this is actually starting to look fairly clean and neat, and then this crap over here. But it'll be easier for you to see what's going on. So then we got chests, and again, this is just to demonstrate. I don't actually have my facility set up with the recyclers and such that I will eventually have for this purpose. And we're going to need some paint on paint brushes, which is, you can see here, it's not a particularly expensive thing to set up for yourself. It's one of those things where once you've got paint and paint brushes, it's not really that big of a deal. Getting set up with it seems a little bit daunting at first, but really all it is, if I can find an empty paint can. Paint can, there it is. It's tin plate. 7 pieces of tin plate makes 3 paint cans, and the tin plate is 2 iron and a tin in your alloy furnace, again, because it's a red power material, makes 4 tin plates. So you'll make 2 batches of the tin plates to make 3 paint cans, and you'll have 1 tin plate left over. So however that works out for you, you make your paint cans, and then once you've got your paint cans, you make your paint in the can. So this is one example. This is black paint, which is the paint can, 2 flax seeds, and an ink sac, which is the equivalent of black dye. If you want white paint, it would be the same thing, only instead of the ink sac, it would be bone meal. Green is, right? So you see the pattern. It's paint and 2 flax plus your dye there makes whatever color of paint that dye happens to make. So once you've got that, you need a paint brush, which is a stick and a piece of wool. Doesn't matter what color the wool is, makes a paint brush. And then you combine that paint brush with your black paint, and you'll get a black paint brush. Now keep in mind, when you make this, you'll also get back your black paint with a little bit missing from its durability, and each time you use this paintbrush, as you can see here, you'll be losing a little bit of durability from the paintbrush as well. So it's not super expensive. It's a little bit inventory intensive once you've got all 16 colors with the paint and the brushes, but again, once you've got it set up, it's not a big deal. So we're going to be using black and white here, and this is to mark the pipes so that the sorting machine can direct the materials where you want them to go. Now, this is basically set up, except for we need to bring some blulectric power over here, so we'll use, yeah, there they are, stone jacketed blue wire. Again, ugly, ugly, ugly setup, but that's me making it ugly and not necessarily a reflection on the system. So this the blue lightning should light up here momentarily, if I did that right. There we go. So that's receiving blue electric power, and then I need to make Aha! I remember what I forgot to make. Some of these guys, and I think I'll start with 8 for now. If I don't know, have I made basalt jacketed red alloy wire for you guys before? It's nothing particularly crazy, and I believe I have all of the materials that I need right here. I'm smelting basalt as quickly as I can bring it into my facilities for another big project that I will be doing very, very soon. So it's at least I have it on hand. Oh, damn it. I just need my saw. That's all I'm getting. Just my saw. So we're going to cut this guy up into covers. And then once we've got them cut up, we just go like so. Don't throw my saw. I always throw my saw. It's the one thing that I can count on myself to do. There we go. So that'll be enough. The basalt jacketed wire. And then we can just... Yeah, that's okay. Go around the torch because I'm lazy. And this should... Once I connect it, it will give this guy the pulse that it needs to do what it needs to do. So what we need to do is tell it what it needs to do. So I'm just going to get this out of my hand. Or something out of my hand. So this is the graphic user interface for the sorting machine. And at first glance, it's kind of like, what the hell is going on here? First of all, it's not super complicated, but for our purposes, we're going to be using it at the most simple level. You'll see here it's got the bars that indicate the power level. So in our case, we're in good shape for power. We see a couple of buttons here that for the time being, we're not going to touch them. I don't think we'll need to, but all we need to know right now is that each one of these columns represents a grouping of items, which in our case, we're going to put 1 and 4. And at the bottom, you see these little squares. And if you left click on the little square, it changes color. And black is at the end. There we go. I think, is that black or is that? Yeah, that was black. Because there's light gray and dark gray as well. There we go. So basically what it's doing is you can see this little frame around this column here. When it's set in this mode, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's going to go item by item. It's going to send this item out tagged white. And then once it's done that, it's going to move over to this column, and it's going to sit there and wait until it's got 4 cobblestone that it can send out tagged black. And then because there's nothing in any of the rest of these columns, it's going to go back here, and it's going to send 1 tagged white and then 4 tagged black. It should. It's been a little while since I've used an item sorter, so we're just going to test it by finishing that. So you can see it's pulsing. Now, obviously, there's nothing in the chest yet, but if we put one in, you can see how that works. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward. And one of the nice things about it is you can see it's 3 cobblestone left. It's not going to do anything with this particular setting until it gets another piece of cobblestone, and then I'll send it out tagged black. There are other settings that you can toggle this on where it'll say, okay, well, I can't fulfill this, so I'll just jump back to this one. Oh, yes, I can fulfill that, and you'll get 3 cobblestone sent out painted white, which we don't necessarily want. So, I mean, I'm trying not to complicate this any more than it needs to be. Ultimately, all we've done is we've said, this pipe is white, this pipe is black, and then switch back and forth between these 2 requirements and distribute them as you can. So, do I have any more cobblestone? I do. So you can see, as soon as we add the rest of this cobblestone to the... Actually, let's just show you how the whole thing works. We'll take this cobblestone, and you can see it's entering our network now. That's our standard input. Comes around, there's nothing over there that wants cobblestone, so it comes past the restriction pipe. In here, the filter grabs it, puts it in the chest, and this guy continues on sorting it. I mean, yes, there's a lot more you can do with a sorting machine, I'm not going to get into it now because it's one of those things where in preparation for the crafting thing, it would be a good idea to mess around with a sorting machine at a very basic level. You can see here there's 44 here and 12 here. So pretty accurately distributed according to what we said. And I'll bet you this one's on, yeah, it's on 4 again. So it's doing exactly what we said it was supposed to do. And now what I could do, for example, is I could, instead of having these stuck out here with pipes to chests, I could have an ender chest here, sending things somewhere else, a bunch of recyclers somewhere, and this one into storage somewhere in this wall. The number of different things that I can do is pretty much limitless, and we will probably be needing some of these at least in our automatic assembly setup. And that's what we'll be doing in the next episode. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that I wasn't overcomplicating it for any of you. And like I say, one of the best things I could recommend is make a sorting machine. Make sure it's got bluelectric power. Make sure it's got access to a pulse. And mess around. Make yourself some paint some pipes, send some stuff through, see what it does. So I will be working hard on getting the automated crafting video out. There's probably going to be more than one as soon as possible. But in the meantime, you've got this to play around with. So I hope it was helpful. If it was helpful, you want to see the automated crafting system and you want to be notified as soon as I add those videos, easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care.